You need someone who has the skill to lead that other director or vice president to the realization that their idea is stupid without ever insulting them.
I want to hear a story or an example of how you can convince someone that, how you can influence someone to realize their ideas are stupid without telling them.
In terms of a story, Amazon bought Twitch.
You work with many managers for a long time. How would you characterize a good manager versus a not so effective manager?
Their team is their engine. In the end, the manager isn't doing work. And in fact, if the manager is spending a lot of time, say, trying to be a hands-on engineer, hands-on data scientist, they're often neglecting their team. I'm not against people being hands-on, but they have to have it in the right priority. And so for me, are they hiring the right people? Are they being careful there? Are they growing their stars, the strongest performers on the team? Are they recognizing them and giving them more and challenging them? At the same time, every team has a distribution of talent for your people who are struggling, not even necessarily struggling, who just aren't your strongest. Are you working with them to try to improve them? I coach one person who had a very large team, and this is common. It's just this person is an example. This person had a team of, let's say, 1,000, and this person loved to work with their stars. And of course, if you pick the best 10 people out of 1,000 at a good company, they're going to be amazing. And so they really loved working with those people. And I asked them, I said, what are you doing for the bottom half of your team? Because the bottom half of your team is 500 people. Yes, maybe in that 500, there's a few that aren't ever going to do well. And the best thing to do is let them go. But you're not going to let go of 500 people. And also on a team your size, those 500 people are costing your company at a tech company like $200 million a year. And so I was prompting this leader, what are you doing to make the bottom half better? Because they're a $200 million asset. And what you've told me in your leadership is you're basically ignoring them. So when I think about a good leader, they have to lead their whole team. That's one element of management. Second element of management I really think about is your peer relationships. How are you getting things done for your team? Because you usually have dependencies on other people and other people have dependencies on you. A manager really becomes a negotiator. They're busy negotiating schedules and loaning resources and commitments, and you build this and I'll build that, and this is in scope and this isn't out of scope. The two pieces there are communication and influence. The communication piece is being clear with your manager, maybe me, and with others. Where are we and what are we blocked on and what is red and what is green? Second piece is being influential. Can you get other people to change what they're doing? Can you work with another team and get them to prioritize something you need, for example? The last part, I think, is a really good manager. The good leaders are also creative or inventive. They're seeing things that could be better and they're inventing. They might be inventing new technology. They might be inventing a new business approach. They might be inventing a new way to organize, but somehow they are changing the playing field. To use our sports analogy again, in this case, they are seeing a way to play the game differently. The biggest trait you're looking for at a director level is directors are not there primarily to manage people. They are there, it's assumed they can manage. It's assumed that a good senior manager can manage a lot of people. And a senior manager has learned the two fundamental things of management, which is managing people directly and managing through others, because they usually have some managers under them. And so at that point, we're kind of assuming that you know how to manage, how to get things done. What we're looking for at the director level and up are two key pieces. One, and director level, this is normally an organization now of 80 to more than 100. At this point, we're looking for someone who thinks about how are they impacting the company? Are they making the company money, or are they doing something that is a clear proxy for money? What are proxies for money? Second proxy is I'm not making us money, I'm reducing our costs, so I'm saving us money. A third proxy is I've shown that I can invent new technology or invent new product ideas that those turn into money. The last one is I can really drive business growth or customer satisfaction. Because if I'm really good at growing something or I'm really good at making customers happy, those will turn into money. The point is, director, I need to think not only can you manage a bunch of people, but can you actually make the company better? That's entrepreneur and general manager, right? You're focused on the money and the strategy, which brings me to the second point. When you look at a director, you're really looking very much at, can they work well and effectively with other very strong, very skilled peers? I need my director to be able to hold their own, and they're going to be working with other directors. And these other directors have strong social skills and strong leadership skills and strong opinions and goals. And they have to be able to not only navigate that, but also keep the peace. Something that was very interesting to me is as I went from senior manager to director to vice president at Amazon, I watched my peers become more polite. Senior managers would say all kinds of nasty things about each other, not maybe personally, but like, that's a dumb idea, that team sucks. And as you went up, I don't necessarily know the beliefs changed, but the expression became much kinder, because what you realized is I'm going to have to work with this vice president that I'm not agreeing with. Yes, I don't agree with them right now, but I have to work with them next quarter and next year and the year after that. And so I have to decide, I think their idea is really stupid, but like, is it worth fighting on this idea or not? Because I'm going to need them tomorrow. You need someone who has the skill to lead that other director or vice president to the realization that their idea is stupid without ever insulting them.
I want to hear a story or an example of how you can convince someone that, how you can influence someone to realize their ideas are stupid without telling them.
In terms of a story, Amazon bought Twitch, and I went to Twitch to work for their CEO, Emmett Shear. And my initial job, we called being his spirit guide. But what it meant was my job was to tell him how Amazon worked so that he could understand Amazon. And I had zero authority. No one in Twitch reported to me, and I reported to Emmett. So I had no authority to tell him anything, but I would see things that I knew weren't going to work within Amazon. And I developed this phrase, which was, could I share how I've seen this done elsewhere? And why I would ask that is, first, if I was, say, talking to his leadership team and I said, can I share how I've seen this done elsewhere? Number one, I could say, could I share how we do this at Amazon? But that would already raise their threat warning of like, oh, he's about to tell us what we have to do for Amazon. So I didn't want to use the Amazon word. The second thing, though, was no one except a complete jerk will ever look at you and say, no, you can't share anything. Like, just get out. So they kind of had to say yes, but then once they said yes, they kind of had to at least listen. Didn't mean they had to do what I wanted, but it gave me a chance to say, well, I don't know enough about Twitch yet, but here's what our concerns are. Here's the constraints and why. Here's how it works. Remember, this person you're trying to influence is a smart person who's had success as a high performer, and they want to keep having that. So they want to be right. They want their idea to be good. And if you can expose them to information without threatening them, without raising their defenses, their natural desire to want to succeed will make them take that information if it truly helps them. And so the way you influence people is you avoid threatening them, and you gain, over time in particular, you have to play the long game. You're trying to gain two thoughts in their mind. One, Ethan is always out for my good. He's always trying to help me. Two, Ethan often says smart things. You don't have to be perfect, but they have to believe when Ethan talks, he's trying to help me. And when Ethan talks, he's usually pretty smart. And at that point, if you start saying things that they're like, oh, that's a good point, I didn't think about whatever, taxes or the cost of the technology stack or the security implication, then they'll be like, oh, I haven't thought about that. How would you solve it? And they're very open at that point because you've moved them. What you want to do is switch the conversation from oppositional to collaborative.
And I want to help the audience summarize what I just heard, because the Twitch story is so great, and you started with the collaboration. Like when you frame it as a conflict, you try to convince, you kind of shut down the door of collaboration. And collaboration is kind of the key of making effective influence. You need to accept that you can be wrong and the other person can be right in order to, that's the start of the collaboration. And in a particular situation, you are in a very difficult situation because no capital, no authority. You are supposed to represent, you are reporting to the CEO. So you started with respecting his agency and the agency of other senior leaders. And because they recognize the respect, and so they welcome your information. And by playing the long game of providing useful information, you slowly establish kind of your seat at the table.
That is correct. That is very much correct.